Hello, hello, hello. I haven't explained to you. You've seen this backdrop for a little bit. Um, my mother happens to be an artist, and so you're you're seeing this gallery around you. My brother did that painting that's down there, just hasn't been hung up yet. My mom did the one behind me, which I think makes a nice backdrop rather than the gym. And there's just a bunch all around me of paintings of family members and different things that she's done. So if you were curious about that, that's what that is. So I live and grew up among talent, which was actually quite nice. So today we're going to focus on some hip openers. And so we'll just take a seat, find a comfortable position, lengthen up through the top of the head, pull that belly in. And when you're ready, we'll just start with that breath work. But take your time getting to the floor. I kind of rushed into that. Take your time finding your position. And when you're ready, start to observe your breath. Feel free to close your eyes or just keep them soft and kind of gazed toward the ground. Now, as we breathe today, let's just see that as we inhale, and we think we've inhaled as much as we can, see if you can just inhale a little more. And then same with the exhale. Exhale as far as you can, and see if there's just a little more. And the reason we're doing this is to actually expand ourselves just a little more, to keep pushing or to let go a little more, just when we think we've gotten as far as we can. There's the reality that we can go a little farther, even with our breath. And let's go ahead and take our right ear to our right shoulder. Slide the left shoulder down and away. Coming up to center. And over to the other side, and we'll do the same thing. Coming back up to center. And let's lower the chin to the chest, slide the shoulders down and away from the ears. Rolling our head from side to side. Observing any tightness in the neck and or shoulders. And when we find a spot that's tighter than others, we'll just stop when we find it. Let the tension ease off and continue with the movement when we're ready. Coming back to center and lifting up very easily. Excellent. So moving into those hips, let's come on to cat-cow. And we're adding on to it today. We're going to try another element. So hang in there. Knees right under the hips, hands right under the shoulders, fingertips spread wide. You can always do fists. Roll your mat or cushion your knees. So you do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Let's pull that belly into the body so we're in a neutral position. And on the exhale, we'll round through that spine, dropping the tailbone and the head. Inhaling as we open the chest, lifting the tailbone and the top of the head. Lots of length between the neck and the ears. Rounding through, or the shoulders and the ears, I should say. So we're just starting to connect with our own breath. One more time, and let's get ready to add in our element, moving into something called sunbird. So let's go ahead and take one knee, it doesn't matter which one. As we round through the spine, the knee comes in toward our chest. As we open the front of the body, the foot lifts up and we flex through that foot. So we're creating that arc, opening up through the hips. Inhaling, pulling that knee in, or inhaling as we open, exhaling as we pull that knee in. And I don't know about you, but I am sweating already. This one builds a lot of heat. And this time, lower that knee to the ground. Let's switch sides. Exhaling as we pull the knee in. Inhaling to open. And this time we're lowering that knee to the ground. Let's press back in child's pose. Take a little time while we're here. Take care of those wrists. Take care of any body parts that are asking for it. Breathing in, exhaling as we come into a downward facing dog. So we'll start to open up the hips, start to open up the backs of those legs and the low back. Softening the knees, lifting the hips toward the ceiling, allowing the heart to drop toward the ground just a little bit. And then we'll just pedal one heel into the ground and then the other. And if you need to stay on one side, if it just feels good to kind of release something on one side or let something open, take the time to let that happen. And we'll just go ahead and even out, pressing both heels toward the ground, lifting the hips. So this is what people will do, is they'll lift their heels, their toes. We want to settle down with those feet while lifting those hips up. So we have things going in two directions, quite literally. And that's what's going to give us space in those legs. And let's go ahead and lower back down into child's pose. Take care of those wrists because we're coming back onto those legs here for a moment. Actually, we won't need to go back onto the wrists. And from here, go ahead and sit on up. So go ahead and bring yourself up onto your knees, and if they need a cushion, go for it. Take your right foot out. We'll open up the hamstrings. Now your leg can be pointed toward you. If you flex that foot, you're going to have more energy in the backs of the legs. If it's a little too much, relax the foot. Now if it's possible, start to walk forward. So you might just have your hands on your hips. The heart is lifted. You might be able to place your hands on the floor or on blocks if you have them. Now see if your hips are even. Generally we'll turn and we don't even know it. So try to pull that right hip back a little bit and that left hip forward and see what happens. And if you're like, oh, hello, soften the knee. Now let's go ahead and lower that right foot to the ground and gently walk ourselves forward into a runner stretch. So my knee should be right on top of my ankle. It's not out to the front. It's not behind. Make sure it's right on top. My hands just come right under my shoulders. My foot is resting as if I had shoelaces on, or shoes on my feet. My shoelaces would be touching the ground. So try to do that. And again, the hips are square, so start to square them out. Pull that right hip back, left hip forward. Now option number 2 is to tuck those toes underneath and extend up into a standing position. If that's possible, stay right here. If not, lower down. If it's available for you to go one step farther today, put that energy in those legs. So sorry that the phone's going to ring and you're going to get the answering machine. Yes, there's still an answering machine in this house. And exhaling as we lower down, gently lowering back down onto the knee, walking back. And we'll place the knee underneath us, switching so the left leg is in front this time. From here, hinging from the chest to come forward. I don't know if you got that message, so sorry. That's life, that's the way it goes, right? It's the way things roll sometimes. So this time we're thinking about the left hip going back and the right hip coming forward, so we're not twisting and opening. We want things square. And I can tell, I don't have the distance, I don't have the range of motion going this way. I'm tighter on my left leg. It's normal. We generally have one side that goes farther than the other. It's also a chance to practice balance, apparently. Let's lower that knee down to the ground. Start to readjust so that the knee comes right over the heel. Coming into our runner stretch, the heart is still forward. Now, if it's a little too much to reach for the ground, the hands can come up to the thighs. So you get to choose. Option 1. Option 2, gathering our energy in those feet, strong legs for option 3. Wow, my balance is off today. Whew. One more breath in whatever position you're in. And the hands come down on either side of the foot. Hands are flat so we can press back in our downward dog. Excellent. And we'll move into pigeon. So go ahead and take a seat for a moment because I don't want you to watch me while you're upside down. If you have knee issues, I don't want you doing pigeon. I would like you to lie on your back, cross one leg over the other, flex through the foot to protect the knee, and pull both knees into the chest. That will be your option. If you don't have knee issues, I'm actually going to face you so you can see the positioning of my leg. So I'll start in my downward dog so I have space in my body. I'll kick a leg up and bring it through. Let me back up so you can see. So this leg, my knee is on the outside of my hand. This foot may or may not be parallel to the top of my mat. It might be in a little more, no problem. Now notice I'm not up on my shin. I'm sitting back and I'm resting kind of on the outside edge of my calf. I'm not all the way on the side. I'm kind of on the outside edge. So that's kind of what you're aiming for, that to the outside, somewhere in there, but not right on top of the shin. Then from here, I can stay or I can lower down. So let's try it together. You can choose lying on your back or this option. Please remember, you're responsible for your own body. So you choose and you listen to what your body is telling you today. Let's tuck those toes underneath for our downward dog if we're doing pigeon. Starting with that right foot, take that right foot up to the sky, float the body forward, use those abdominals like we've been practicing, and the knee comes to the outside of the hands, or of your hand. This foot is flexed, and if you need to walk it over a little bit, go right ahead. Now we want to keep our hips level, so I don't want to roll over to one side or the other. And if that's a challenge, use your blanket to prop the appropriate hip so it's not gripping. Try not to sink into those shoulders and press into the hands. Try to press into the hands but lift up rather than letting it all absorb into those hands, if that makes sense. Back leg can be long and relaxed. Now, a couple more options. You have the opportunity to go down to those elbows or to lie flat, whatever option is available for your hips at this moment in time. And then we just observe our breath for a little bit. Feel free to close your eyes and breathe full and deep. On your next exhale, go ahead and press into those hands and gently walk yourself back up. If you're on your back, go ahead and stretch those legs out. Take yourself into a full body stretch from fingertips to toes. Pressing back into downward dog, And this time, we're taking that left leg up to the sky, pulling it in, setting it down on the floor, leveling out the hips, using a blanket if we need to. And again, each side is probably different. So you might be able to go farther on one side than you did on the other. Or you might feel it on your front hip on one side rather than the back part of your hip. Observing our breath, shoulders relaxed. One more breath in, and on the exhale, press into those hands gently, come on up. We'll tuck those toes underneath. If you're on your back, go into your full body stretch. If you're on your front, press back into downward dog. Gently lowering down, and we're all going to come onto our backs this time. Taking our time to get there. So if you're already there, just enjoy that full body stretch for a moment longer. So let's go ahead and just take the right knee into our chest. So holding the back of the thigh, and we'll just start to draw circles around the hip joint. Now the reason I do this one so much is because the hips are one of those joints that we have issues with as we age. And it's really important to get that synovial fluid, switch directions, moving in order to keep those joints healthy. And this is one way we do it, by circulating our joints. That's how we get that synovial fluid into those joints.
It's really important. Now go ahead and take your foot and rest it on top of your other thigh. And then let that knee kind of open up. Now it might go toward the ground, it might not. But we're going to try to let gravity take hold. So you're going to feel an outward rotation in that hip joint. And that's what we want. We want this stretch around the joint area. So you might feel your inner thigh stretching as a result of that. Awesome if you do. If you don't, no big deal. And on that exhale, gently release. Let's try it on the other side. So pulling the left knee into the chest, and we'll go ahead and just circle from the hip joint, not the knee, but circling around the hip joint, seeing what its range of motion is. And going the opposite direction. And then just letting that foot rest on top of the thigh and allowing it to open. Breathing in, exhaling as we release, shaking out the legs. Beautiful. Let's do one more thing because we don't do this very often. Let's pay attention to our ankles. So you can do both legs at the same time. Just making those big, ginormous circles with the ankles and pointing all the way through the foot and then going the other direction. So we need to pay attention to them too. Really spread those toes and then really point those toes. And then let's just wiggle it out and find our position for stillness for today. Beautiful. And simply observing our breath, coming back to it. And as we exhale, we'll allow our body to kind of melt into the ground. We'll allow ourselves to go a little further. Now maybe today you actually lie with your palms open, symbolizing giving and receiving. And maybe it's not even giving and receiving as much as giving up, meaning letting go. Not giving up as in not following through with something, but giving up in that I surrender. And there's a book by Gabby Bernstein called The Universe Has Your Back, and she talks about when you surrender, surrender more. And so let's practice that with our breath, that as we let go, we can let go a little more. And maybe even as we let go, we imagine something in our life that is causing us stress or worry or concern. And rather than hanging on to that, we release it. And that we use our breath to actually lift it up and carry it up as a prayer to our Creator or the universe or God or whatever it is that you call that being that is greater, that is the sum of all of us. Now, as you give up whatever it is, as you hand it over, feel the release in your body, the weight lifting off your shoulders, because it's no longer your burden to carry. Your responsibility is to listen and to show up. But it's no longer your burden. Start to bring yourself back and notice the feeling of the floor underneath you. Start to wiggle your body a little bit, stretch and reach and move in whatever ways that you need to. And then gently allow yourself to wake up. We have all the time that you need. There's no rush. Figure out how to get up to a seated position when you're ready. Again, no rush. Awesome job today. Hips are about holding us back or moving forward. So if you feel a lot of tightness in your hips, that might be an indication of something going on here. What's holding you back? Who or what? And what do you need to release so that you can continue to move forward in your life? Or what is the roadblock that's keeping you as you step forward? So if it's on the front, it's something in front of you that you've got to figure out how to navigate. If it's behind you, it's something holding you back. So just a little tip with that. Thank you once again for showing up on your mat, for your faithful commitment to yourself. I honor you and your commitment. I'm thrilled to serve you. It's an honor to do so. Namaste. Have a great day and or evening.